My name's AJ Pouoa, also known as AJ. I'm originally from Christchurch. I was born there. And I'm the youngest of four girls. No boys, no brothers. My mum is from Sa'angapu. My father's from Lufi. When I was younger, my father had a stroke when I was about 1 year old, and my mother had to sell our house, leave her job, and become his sole carer. All up until I was 7, and then he passed away. Shortly after that, we moved to Australia, to Sydney, where my mum's sister was and their family. So we had 4 girls, 1 cousin, 3 boys, and a wife and a baby. That's not including the makuas. That was my mum, my uncle, and my auntie in a 3-bedroom house.
Yeah.
Made it work.
The norm.
Yeah.
Which I feel like we're going back to it.
We are when we talk about like migrating and stuff, you see it a lot now.
And with New Zealand's current shortage of housing, we're starting to see the return to the 80s. The 3 bedrooms. How many people are we talking about, the ceiling? Or
Is the garage a room? Or
now, but as you know, we're here to talk about the journeys of our tangata saili malo. And with Tōfā Mamao being all about the carers, those who are impacted, and also the family members. And can you let us know your current role with Tōfā Mamao and your attachment to it altogether and how that came about?
So I'm currently the chair of Tōfā Mamao. How that came about was pretty random. I just got a call one day from our national executive, and I didn't know who he was. Didn't know what he was talking about. I liked the sound of his voice. And I thought, okay, I'll give you a hand, no worries. Was on the board for about a year, just listening, trying to learn, taking as much as I could, because I had never been in that environment before on a board or anything like that. I knew very little about the disability sector, the health system. Yeah, I knew very little until, joining Tōfā Mamao and then hearing other people's story. Some stories sounded like mine. Others, most stories were just, how did this happen? It made me wonder, how did you miss this? And then it just came down to, why aren't my people getting the same information or the same services as everybody else? I don't understand. And then a year later, I got voted in as chair. So being chair has put me in rooms with people that I never thought that I'd be in a room with, or even sitting down at the same table discussing the same thing. It's crazy, I've never been in a room full of doctors, clinicians, people in government, from several organizations, the CEOs of several organizations. And I'm sitting there thinking, what am I doing here? Because I'm just little old age, just rolled in and just here to listen. I just, for a long time, I just thought, what am I doing here? And then it took me a while, took me a few meetings, and one person to ask me a question for me just to, boom, let it loose. And I did. And it felt good to get that information out. Well, what I had inside. Well, it was just trying to understand our ecosystem. There was something around our ecosystem, and for people to try and understand that even though we know it's built like this, we know it, but it's never been seen. Like, it hasn't been articulated. Right. So it's an approach. And that's what I was trying to express, that this is an approach, an evidence-based approach that we know works. So, yeah, that's what I was trying to say. And, by the end of it, people, even some of these clinicians were just saying, it was really hard to try and change their way of thinking. because some clinicians had to change their whole business model to make it work for Pacific Island disabled people. Well, Pacific Island people in general, really. And it was all built around this ecosystem. It's a map.
And
It's a map.
you're referring to the models of care that they
Yes.
they
Yeah,
built
yeah,
their business.
yeah. If you want to find those people that are getting missed in the system, those people that don't want your help because they have this fear that you're not there to help them. You're just here to annoy me and get on my nerves. Because that's what it feels like after a while, you know? Got appointments coming out of your ears. You don't know what day it is and you don't know what time this appointment is because there's so many things medically wrong with you. It's a lot. And then on top of that, you got to do life. Still got to work, still got to pay the bills, still got to be places, still got to support people. It's a lot.
And you just described pretty much every island auntie and uncle when it comes to the talk. They tell me to do too many things.
They do.
And they also sort of, I don't know whether, and I always put it back to this, right? The reality is this is how they were taught to be doctors. So it almost like if we really need to get to the root of how they behave when they become doctors, it's almost like you need to change it at the level of the ones that prepare them.
And that was what it felt like when this lady was talking in the meeting. She's a clinician. She was crying because she had to unlearn something and relearn something else for it to work. And it was positive feedback, but very emotional for her.
So I always think of, you ever seen that movie Patch Adams?
Yes.
You know how they keep referring to the patient as a number?
Mm-hmm.
Patient number 35, and then he actually broke protocol by saying, "What's your name?"
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "We don't know their names. That's case number 45." You know, now let me rewind the clock back in terms of like who you are. So you're the chair of Tōfā Mamao, but at the same time, you're very humble without mentioning you are an entrepreneur. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I do still have my business, Rise Fitness Adaptive Studios. It's currently under construction. And I train people with disabilities, all people with disabilities. And I adapt every exercise to people's capabilities, and we have fun. We have fun doing what we do. So, yeah.
And why are you in that space? Why did you decide to run that business instead of a normal gym?
Well, it was something I was going to do anyway. Before my accident, I was going to become a personal trainer because I was sick of driving forklifts and lifting boxes and things like that. I mean, great workout, but I mean, come on. I mean, after work, I still got to go to training. But yeah, I played a lot of sport and I was really active and I was going to be a PT, just total career change. And I just wanted to be my own boss for a little while until I had my accident. So I was playing rugby league. I was a week away from nationals. We had just won our rugby comp for Glenfield at the time. And I had my PT course coming up soon. Then I went to a party. I was actually supposed to be in Christchurch for my niece's 21st, but my work wouldn't let me go catch my flight on the Friday, so I ended up staying. And we had a fundraiser for my rugby league team. So after that fundraiser, we went back to my friend's house just to lax out. And I was out on the balcony talking to a friend, just being silly. It was wet. It was dark. I was being silly. And then I just went over the balcony, 3rd floor, dropped straight into a construction site. So that it was all fenced off and stuff. So that the girls had to run down and push over this fence and make sure I was okay. And yeah, I passed out after that. I don't know what happened, but I woke up in ICU. I still didn't know what happened. I knew I fell, But at that time when I woke up, I didn't know I was paralyzed. Mind you, I was pretty doped up on the painkillers, so I didn't really think about it until I was leaving ICU. And then I thought, why can't I couldn't do this. I think I'm tapping my leg. I couldn't feel it. I said, what's going on? Maybe it's the meds. And I was in the room with my mother. My sisters sat outside. And the doctor came through and he said, you broke your back. Like it literally broke. And you're probably never going to walk again. Yeah, because it was a complete break. So for someone like me that had all these plans of being active and all these plans of, well, I'm going to share something that I've never shared before. Okay, so in my years in Australia, I got into a bit of trouble. Okay, I was hanging out with the wrong crowd, doing silly things, and it got me deported, banned from Australia forever. So I saw sports and the level that you could get to as my ticket back home. And that's what I was trying to achieve this whole time. Nobody knew it.
Home at this time was still Australia?
Still Australia, because that's where my family was. That's where my mother was. That's all my sisters, nephews, everybody was there. And I just wanted to go home. So I spent years and years learning the game, learning the craft, everything. Got fit, got muscly, got awesome. And then I fall off a balcony. Son of a biscuit. So yeah, I was really disappointed, to say the least.
At what point along this drowsy recovery journey did they break it to you that where you are at now is pretty much how it's going to be? I'm just trying to tee up before we get to the journey of you then having to go through the it's going to come back, or there's going to be a pill, or somebody's going to invent something, right? So when that happened, were you a week into the sessions by then, or
Yeah. Oh, well, I wasn't.
did they do it slowly, subtle, or one day they just turned up and said, AJ, this is how the cookie's going to crumble for you? How did it,
How did they?
how far into your time in hospital did they really fully explain to you that?
They didn't. I just thought, this is temporary. That's all that was going through my head. I didn't find out until I got to the spinal unit, which was like a month later. And my family was still here. Well, my mother was still here. And we were sitting in a room with the doctor. And she brought out her little spine, little thing that they have. And she was like, you're broken here. It just snapped. So we had to put metal rods here, and screws there, and all that stuff. And it's most likely that you're never going to walk again. And I just cried, man. I just cried. Everything that I had planned in my head went down the drain. And then I went back to my room. I told my mum to go home, have a rest, have some lunch or something. And then I just, I fell into this dark space where I didn't want to talk to nobody. Didn't want to see nobody. People did try. I was like, nah, couldn't do it. 3 days. Took me 3 days. And then I was like, cool. All right, that's what I'm going to do.
That's a pretty quick recovery time in terms of the mental, because we've had some people where it took them years to finally accept it and then finally decide to do something about it. Took you 3 days, AJ?
To accept it, yes.
And then?
And I thought, well, I got to work with what I got. I got to work with what I got. So I still followed the PT plan, still did the course, graduated, got a job. And the rest has just been years of awesomeness. It's the most rewarding job in the world. It really is. My crew are funny. Our members are so funny. It's like we all have something in common in there when we train together, and we make light of it. We make it a fun subject to talk about, and it just makes it easier for people to give things a go or push themselves a little bit further. When they have their mates next to them that believe in them, they have me that believe in them, and I've seen some amazing things. I've seen, a woman that has no core function. She's doing sit-ups now. I got her doing sit-ups now. I'm so happy about that. A young boy that has trouble walking because of his cerebral palsy. I got him deadlifting now. He deadlifts. And he's 14 now. I've been training him since he was 8.
Do you, with what you do now and the type of people that you care for, do you have to learn a little bit more extra about the body than your average PT person? Obviously, not everyone would know how to work with someone in a wheelchair that wants to do sports that in your abled mind, you're like, I don't think
Let's go do
you know
some
what I mean?
bicep curls.
It takes a bit of
It does.
some unique ingenuity based on your experience to be able to see how these things work. So for
Yeah.
you, has that been another window of what you've had to open up for your mind to be able to work with?
Absolutely. I've had to get creative, man. I've had to tie things to things, cables here, secure that to that, just to make things work, in the safest way possible. And sometimes we got to, use our good old Samoan ingenuity and create something. So it's easier for my person that's training to do one thing straight after the other, and they're doing it in real time like an able-bodied person would, but it's just set up differently. That's all. Same thing.
And let me know if I'm asking the right question. Who did you live for then before your accident? And who do you live for now?
Back then, I was doing things for me. I was trying to elevate myself, get out of the warehouse, become something that I wanted to be, and be great at it. That's what I wanted. But now it's turned into, it's about everybody else now. I'm so invested in their lives and what they play and, what they do at home. And it's amazing that they let me in like this, I guess, so that they accept me and they make sure everything's okay. We hang out with the visually impaired people, some of them totally blind. And, we go for swims and spas and things like that just to hang out. It's like we've created this little community. And it's not only just people with disabilities, it's their families, it's their families as well. And my staff. Some of them are, well, actually most of them are able. But we're also, we're all part of this crew. Yeah. I don't know how to explain it. But yeah, back then it was about me, elevating myself. But now I'm just, it's not about me anymore. It's about showing these other people that they too can be leaders of their own lives. Yeah. Building their confidence to be able to speak and to ask for what they want. Sometimes it's not about sport or fitness or whatever. It's just about mental health, I had one lady say to me, I appreciate you because you let me punch things. So I don't go home and punch anybody at home. I said, okay.
Can we talk about part of what you're working on at the moment with this unique sporting event? Can we talk about that one?
Yeah, sure.
Look, I've never met anyone that tries to put together the kind of events that you're doing. Can we talk about that?
I'm a little bit crazy. So yes, we are running it's something we've been working on for a very, very long time. So we're running an adaptive fight night. So that's boxing for people with disabilities. But in the name of inclusion, we've also invited a few able fighters to experience what it's like to try and box in a wheelchair or to be visually impaired trying to box. Some people can't even imagine that, but it's possible. It's all possible. But yes, it's a fight night. It's in March 23rd on a Saturday night. We've got the boys, they're really excited. They've been training for months, some for years because of all the holdups. And all we want is support. It's a fundraiser for our athletes who are trying out for the New Zealand Paracombat team. Yeah, so they're going to need money for flights and accommodation because they're competing in Scotland this year. And that's what we're trying to raise the funds for, as well as, expose the community to what we do. Adaptive boxing, it is a thing. It's a huge thing in the UK. And even throughout Asia, their fighters are crazy good. There's not only boxers, there's kickboxers, there's MMA fighters. You do what you can with what you got. And this is the whole thing about it. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't have to look like what you see on TV. This is how we get down. So
I think that's, most of, if not all of the sports has always been viewed as can only be completed or done by able-bodied people, right? And so we then slowly accepted the swimming and the Olympic sports.
Yeah, we cut ourselves right out of it.
And then, so now when it comes to combat sports, because people immediately, when they think about anyone with a disability, they think that they are vulnerable. And when you put them into a sport that's violent or the danger, visually impaired, who are they going to, what's the word? The gimmick concept comes into people's minds.
It does.
Do you encounter that when you're trying to tell people about this event? Do they look at you like?
Yes. Even when it
Good
first
joke. So
came
why are
up,
you really here?
it's something that they've never thought of, or I don't know why though. Well, I kind of know why, but I'm glad that I'm the one that's bringing it to the people. That's all I can say about that. I don't care what everybody else is doing. As long as my people are good and we're getting what we need so the boys and the girls can follow their dreams, really. And that's to compete overseas. And that's to potentially become a world champion. Why not?
So overall, what is the goal for you and why you want to present these things for those of our Tangata Sa'ilimalo community? Why is it important for them to have access to these sports that even just 5 years ago it wasn't a thing? What's the key message that you're trying to
Just
communicate?
trying to create a pathway. Just trying to let them know that we are here. We're here and, we can do it too. And there is a place for us in the world sports scene for us. Why don't we tap into that, New Zealand? Right? No one's tapping into it. Nobody's creating these pathways. No one's giving us these opportunities. They're giving us those cliche sports. Those, oh, you must play basketball. I got asked the other day if I was a wheel black. Wait, no. Oh, but I started playing table tennis. I took up a new sport. I didn't want to do rugby. I didn't want to do basketball. Because, we're in the wheelchair, right? Our bodies are just getting older. So I thought I'm going to choose a sport that's going to not be so harsh on my shoulders, not be so harsh on the body, and won't land me in hospital. So table tennis. Yeah, where there's a will, there's a way. I've already told them that I'm going to be a world champion. I've already said it. Put it out in the universe already.
I'm still fascinated by your 3 days. Like, what were why? I mean, what existed, or what was part of your environment that made you tough enough to look at things and be able to turn anything around into something towards what you want?
Well, that was the
You know, 'cause
mindset that I was already in.
yeah.
You know, playing all these sports and boxing as well. I was already in that mindset. Be decisive, make a decision, have your little sulk, get over it, move on. You know what the deal is. It's not going to change. Work with what you got. Let's go forward.
So it was these were impacted, influenced by the environments that
yeah,
kind of.
yeah.
How important is that for, let's say, some of our community that will be watching you, Talanoa, that do not have that? It's not easy to make decisions when
No,
you're because you are an anomaly. Like, you come out, it happened to me. All right, get over it, move on. But for those who are in that decision, or in that chair, or in that moment where they're trying to think,
what do I do now?
yeah,
They can do whatever the bloody hell they want, to be honest. Like, sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want. Just pick something, choose something, follow a dream, follow something. Yeah, have some aspirations, get some inspiration from somewhere. But I'm sure everyone has like an ideal career path or an ideal type of lifestyle they want to live. And you can get it. It is possible. You just need to work for it.
for those who are dependent on carers,
Mm.
because I know that's the other thing we have to consider, because it's the environment that empowered you. So when this happened, you were already sort of a go-getter sort of personality. But for those who are caring for loved ones that are also asking this question, what do I do? Is this the end of the road for the loved one that I'm caring for? What would you say to them, for the person that's impacted, to be able to reach the things that they may want and could not decide for themselves?
Oh, look, that just comes down to having those really tough conversations, say, with your family, if it's a family member. And it's going to be tearful, but you have to ask those really hard questions. And you don't want to ask because you know it hurts, and you can see it hurts them. But you got to ask them because you want to help. And once they say something out loud, it's going to make much more sense in their head as to which path they want to go. So for those people that are looking after their sibling or their parent or their child, just communication. It's just talking, trying to find out, asking those questions to find out what really makes them shine, what really puts the light in their eyes. That's the way to go. And encouragement. Build them up so they're just so confident that nothing that anyone says can touch them. And like, somebody could say something to me, I wouldn't even blink.
Before your accident, how would you have?
I would have jumped on that car bonnet, kicked that window in, said, "How did I say?"
Remember the size of my boots.
But that's just me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So,
I'm a little bit crazy.
No, hey. But that's the thing, right? You know, I always feel like the word crazy exists to either be an excuse or be a barrier to those who what you bring is totally outside their comfort zone. And so there's only one way that you can define that.
Yeah.
Oh man, they're crazy. Like, yeah, not for the person who's really good at doing the stuff that scares you. You know, so please be crazy all you can in this room. We know that you always wanted to do sports, but before that, well, you were at school and all. What was there anything else that you wanted to do growing up?
Oh gosh. When I was in high school in Australia, at one stage I thought I wanted to be a model. That didn't happen. I grew hips. No, I didn't really have anything in mind. I didn't have a career path. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just going to school. And I can honestly say I wasn't the best student. No, I'm not the worst either, but I just wasn't, because there was only my mum and us 4 girls. Nobody was checking for me. Mum was at work. My older 2 sisters went to a school that was like way far away, and it was just me and my other older sister, and we went to this local school. And yeah, I didn't have role models, like real, proper role models. I mean, I did have my family, my sisters and all that, but I mean, they were still trying to find their way too, so I can't really put them in that category. But yeah, I didn't have a lot of role models.
How does it feel now to be a role model to a lot of the young people that you work with?
This is the first time I've been called a role model. Thank you, Alpha.
Oh, AJ, I know for a fact that when I do look around our community, there's not many youths. And, you know, we've seen the lives and the people that you've impacted to. I don't know whether there's a name for it, but role models are things that we aspire to because it gets you to drive towards something that you want to become, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm sure by now, after the years of you running Rise and the other sports that you've encountered, you've changed people's lives.
I think so. I've gotten a few texts saying thank you for all that you do, and but I just pat myself on the back. And, cool. I'll accept it, but my job's never over. So you're good at this one day, but we're gonna get better. But I mean, that's the whole pursuit of success, right? Tangata sa ilimalo. And that's what I've been doing this whole time, pursuing success. Still pursuing.
The one must be interesting though, because not just for yourselves, but the people you work with, they have different abilities, different challenges. You know, so the pursuit of success, you must have a really good vision of what pursuit of success is, on more colorful than others, because you do work with a lot of, you know.
Yeah. But I mean, success is defined by the individual, really. It could be something as small as being able to lift a weight above their head. Still success if you weren't able to do it before.
I live with a guy who still tries to lift his hand. We'll get there one day, the guys.
One day.
Being Pacific Islanders, this is something we struggle to sort of escape sometimes. It's a stigma that comes with having a disability, right?
Yes.
Like, what were some of your experience that you encountered? I'm sure they would have.
Oh, look, they wanted to wrap me up in cotton wool and stuff. Like I was going to break. It really was. For some reason, I ended up with 3 blankets on my lap, and what the hell? I'm not Mai. I'm okay. But yeah, that stigma where it's being called, we call it Mai. My mum called me Mai. She used to call me Ulukai, and now it's Mai. So yeah, it's not what it is. That's not what we are. Yes, we have disabilities, but we're not sick, if that makes sense. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with us. We're perfectly imperfect. And we just do our thing the way that we do our thing. It may not look like everybody else's thing, their everyday thing. It may not be as fast as everybody else's thing, but just as long as we're doing our thing in our time when we need it done. Yeah, you're good. We're good.
You are a multi everything person, but if I were to ask you about what, not just current, it's funny when people ask you about aspirations. People always say, "What are your current aspirations?" As if aspiration has an end date.
It doesn't.
So
it just keeps going and going and going.
What drives you at the moment, and what's driving you to what's the word? What are you driving towards? I guess that's aspiration, right?
Yeah.
What are you aspiring to?
Aspiring. Okay. In an ideal world, I would have facilities that catered to people with disabilities all over the place. In an ideal world, with a bunch of clones of myself running these places. All I want to do really is let these people know that, or even like if it's somebody that grew up, that was born with a disability, just let them know you're not broken. You're not. We just do things a little bit differently. That's all. And when I say this, I'm thinking of one of the little boys that I train, and he's just going through my head at the moment. But yeah, I just want to bring out their confidence, their inner confidence. And if we can bring that out early, the rest is easy. They become trainable. Yeah. Bring out that confidence early and they become trainable. But if not, day at a time.
When you look at the challenges that people with disability face, is it always with the person that's impacted, or is it mostly towards those who are around you, like the carers or like the families? Is it in them where the disability is louder, or is it the person that's impacted?
No, I think it's the carers where the disability is louder. Because having them there is like hospital type,
Because that's the only model we've been taught to look after people with disability.
Yeah, yeah.
Hence the word mai.
Yeah.
Like the minute they say, "Oh yeah, he's mai," and then it's like I'm not trying to say, well, it's their fault, but I have to look at why did the carer started behaving that way.
Exactly.
Is it system, or is it really culture to blame?
I just
or
think
is
it's
it
the
religiosity?
system.
From your reflection, I'm sure you pondered on this.
I have.
What have you arrived to?
I just feel like it's the system. It's these organizations that help us at home. Their carers haven't been taught to engage with us. I mean, we're going to see you every day. You might as well get to know each other. You're looking at my butt every day. Come on. We're personal now.
We boys.
Gangs. Yeah.
And, I always try to be careful that I've looked at life and realized that, and someone also reminds me that, look, the biggest judge to me today are my incoming children and their children and their children, right? So I don't know whether what we're doing now is going to really offend somebody in the future, because we don't know what we don't know. And so I remember I was talking to a Tangata Saidi Malo, friend of the family, and he was saying, the reason why I said no to carers, because they come and care for me. It's almost like they're preparing me to die. They don't come and talk to me like, so what are we going to do today? They always come and talk to me like, how you feeling? Are you comfortable? That's what you tell people who are about to die.
Yeah.
That's why he said no. He said no to carers. I think he's 76 now. I've never listened to his kids taking on care. Doesn't like photos. He's one of those old folks that thinks that if you take a photo of me, you're capturing
snatches spirit.
2024.
You watch too many horror movies.
Yeah, but his whole thing about the reason why he said no to carers. Oh, he made it hard for everyone.
Yeah.
But it was like, no, but at least my kids, if I talk to them, they'll run their mouth back at me. Makes me feel alive. Because everybody run their mouth back at their parents.
Yeah.
Disabled or able-bodied, So it's like I deliberately do things so that at least I feel normal. My kids don't listen to me. I'll threaten them. I would have threatened them too if I still had my legs. But when the carers come around, they pamper you like they're getting you ready for the coffee.
Yeah.
And that's why I said no. But I'm aware that not all carers do that. But from experience, the caring part is like just they don't come to you and say, all right, what mountain are we climbing today? Because it's almost like outside the frame of the caring.
Yeah.
Supposed to do.
It is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's why I just thought to myself, that's a system reform thing, or somebody has to teach these. It has to be part of their learnings.
It's from a good place, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's from what they've been taught.
Yeah.
How to care.
But I mean, you could put your extra spice on it. That's okay. Be human. Just be human.
So what carer should exist in 2024? How informed they should be? What sort of traits they need to have now, AJ, that aside from the one that used to pampered my uncle to death? 'Cause he was like,
Oh, a must. You have to be able to laugh. Have to. Yeah, and you have to be able to make light of things when things don't go right, because, you know, you get some people, if one thing goes wrong, that's the end of their day. You know what I mean? They don't want to do anything after that if one thing goes wrong. But they have to be able to understand that and know how to work around it and still get their job done. And that comes through communication. So I don't know what they have to do, but they do have to communicate better. Be human. Don't be a nurse or whatever you're doing. Stop it. Be a person, you know? You're
What else?
talking to a person, you're looking at a person. Yeah.
I like that. What would you tell AJ of 15, 16-year-old AJ?
Go home. Go home. That's what I would have told 15-year-old AJ. It's not worth it. Go join the army or something. Go get a career.
Would you have joined the army?
I would have.
Yeah.
I would have gone Australian Defence Force if it was put to me. But because I was just la 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 la, the world is great. I can do whatever I want. Yeah. Didn't quite happen like that.
Okay, so here's a question that I'm always trying to be careful asking, because I don't know how people take it, but I've always grown up knowing that there are always these moments in life that happen, and it almost like they needed to happen for us to realize the actual potential that we have.
I've also thought about that too. Like, would I be the same person had I not had this accident? I think I'd kind of be this person, but a lot quieter. I'm a big mouth now because, I mean, this is what I got. I wasn't the biggest talker before, but now I have to be. So it's taken a while to get used to, even like sitting in front of a camera talking to you. It's taken a while to get used to, but I'm good now. I'm cool.
At the end of your journey, let's say the time you transition to become an amazing ancestor, what would you like people to have said about you? Or what would you like to be known for come the time when AJ becomes a legend?
I want a legacy. I want to leave a legacy. Last longer. Last longer than money. Yeah. The kind of legacy that shows people that if you nurture our youth right and teach them to become leaders in their own right, yeah, that, you know, our future's going to look bright. So at the moment, what we're doing with our youth, creating leaders, building them up, giving them courage, or building their courage, their own courage, to be able to speak on their own behalf. Yeah.
The more the merrier.
Yeah.
The more of you, the merrier for them in terms of examples that they can aspire to, right?
Yes.
Which is currently what we don't have. AJ Pouoa, thank you very much for sharing your story with us, and much appreciated.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.